Haha, I get pranked. Hey guys, it's Anna. I'm back. Yeah, I know. I have a weird voice. And shit. Alright, anyways. I have power rankings for MLD Season 2. I was in Season 1. It was a lot of fun. I had Cortana. I had a lot of fun with Cortana. That's pretty much all you need to know. If you want to check it out, it's on my channel. Just click whatever and you will get to my channel. But yeah, so I decided to do power rankings. I don't want to really hurt people's feelings during this, but I mean, if I got shit to say, I'm gonna say that shit. I have nothing against anyone's team. I know some people from the league is watching this. Some people from the league are watching this. And to those people, I just want to say, I mean no disrespect for your team. Some of these teams I originally had higher, some of them I initially had lower, and some of them I still don't agree with. Most of this was automated, sort of, kind of. I pretty much was like, here, I'll bring you to the rules, I guess. So here's the point system. We're going out of 151 points. No one here has 151 points though. The highest is 115. Pretty much how the offense, defense, and speed totals work are for my team. For my team, my stats were so my team stats for attacking was 2055, and how I got that number was I combined every mon's attack stat and every mon's special attack stat, and then I added those two together. That's the same for the defense stat, and for speed stat, it's just without adding two other stats, it's just the whole stat. I hope that makes sense. Because I need to explain every single one of these. Offensive threats, defensive threats / tanks, those both are pretty much me actually being able to have a say and judging the teams based on how good I think their offensive threats are. How I pretty much determined that was, I was like, what threatens you the most? If you choose any like 3 or 4 Pokemon, and then I just sort of just broke it down from there. It's pretty much the same with defensive threats / tanks, except not many teams had that, so I just looked at their defensive walls, and I just went in. Like, I think only one of these teams has a 10 in defensive tanks. 2 teams, compared to 4 teams, which have offensive threats. Yeah, so that's cool. Speed tiers. Okay, so speed tiers are very, very, very fun. So speed tiers are pretty much, if you don't know what they are, certain speed ranges. So lower than 30, 31 to 50, 51 to 70, 71 to 90, 91 to 110, and 110 and up. Pretty much the best case scenario is if you can get like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Something like that, just 10 stats apart. You don't really want to be tangled. You don't really want to have a huge, gigantic speed gap of like 30s or 40s. 20 is like not good, but it's not bad. 15 is pretty good. 10 is amazing. So that's pretty much what you want to work out for. But you also want to have high speeds. You don't want to just cap out at like 100, like 5 or 110 or something around there. You wanna get high speeds so that you're at least outspeeding everything, and you're not required to bring Scarf on your fastest mons. Yeah, that's speed tiers. So hazard and removal, oh boy, was that the fun one. So I spent a few minutes actually coming up with this. So how it's gonna work is each team will start out with 20 points in this category. You get -2 if you only have 1 stealth rocker, and you get -4 if you have no rocker. Then we move to the next thing, which is spikes and T-spikes. You get -1 if no spikes, and you get -1 if no T-spikes. Obviously, if you don't have either, it's -2 then. And you add that with your however many points you have remaining left. -3 for no webs. I think this was a little harsh, but I think it does make a lot of sense. Because webs do hurt teams a lot. maybe this should have been -2 or -1, but I think -3 is respectable. And I think this was fine. I have -3. If you have no spinner, court change, I have it within this category, just so that I don't have to complicate it and put it in defog, because it's not really defogging. And to just make it its own separate category makes no sense, so I'll put it with the spinners. Pretty much the reason why this is separate from defog is because if you want to get rid of T-spikes on your side, but you don't want to get rid of T-spikes on their side, just in my opinion, I think spinning is definitely better than defogging, and yeah, that's just my opinion. So I think having at least a spinner should be helpful. I think this was very strict, I'm not gonna lie, but I think it does make a lot of sense, because you should never go too much into hazard removal. I have -3 for if you have only 1 defogger or less. I have +0 for 2 or 3 defoggers, and then anything above 4 defoggers is also -3. Why am I doing that? You never want to have too many defoggers, but there should be a penalty if you go over those 2 or 3. Maybe you shouldn't, but to me, I feel like you need to just, like, I don't know. I'd rather have 2 or 3 good defoggers than 4 or more that are like I might bring and they're tied to a offensive mod. I don't know. I just thought that usually it's recommended you have 2 or 3 defoggers. You shouldn't really go for more, and I mean, it's really a penalty if you're going too much into hazard removal, because you should never be going too much into hazard removal. That's just my personal opinion. Alright, that took a little while. Next we have a special / physical balance. So pretty much, this is another sort of ranked category where it's the team with the best gets the most points, and then the team with the worst gets 1 point. I'm stupid. Alright, I misexplained that. So pretty much what I'm doing is I'm taking the attack and defense stat, and I'm taking the special attack and special defense stat, adding those 2 respective stats together, and then subtracting them with each other, and then yeah, that's your difference between the two, I guess. I hope I explained that right, because what this category is balance. If you have, it's also ranked, so like the lowest team, like I said, was 2111 and 2112, so I just minus those 2 together and then get my total, and then that's, the lower the number the better. If it's negative, then it's whatever without the negative sign. Like, I'm hoping I'm explaining this right. I'm probably doing a really bad job, but whatever. Next category, very simple, I think. I'm a person who values cores. If you don't have a, like, I will go for cores. Like, I will desperately go for cores if I need to. I know that was a problem with my fairy type, so I had to just relentlessly search for that. So I think cores are very important to me. So I think I should encompass. I can't speak. Whatever. I think that should be a part of the the power rankings, and to just give it a bunch of points, because the more points, the more value. And then the last category is one that I didn't really put much value into. I wouldn't say it's one of the more valued ones, but momentum is something big in Pokemon. Pretty much you get a point for every momentum, for every mon that has a momentum move, and you can't stack. So example, Azelf has Baton Pass and it has U-turn, so it just got +1. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm very excited. This could either go really bad or really well. I'm either gonna get hate or not hate, but please keep this in mind that this is just my opinion, and I mean, some of these, I don't even agree with some of these, but especially with whatever. I'll get to that when I get to it. But I don't even agree with some of these. But most of them I do agree with, and but you don't have to agree with these. I love power rankings because usually I'm one of the teams in the bottom, which means I got dirt on me, which means I gotta prove myself. I love power rankings because of that, because I feel like I have something to prove, and yeah, so if you're in one of these bottom spots, please prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I want to see everyone do well in this league. Obviously I want to win this league too, so don't do too well, but you get my point. Please don't get mad. These are just power rankings. They don't really mean much besides, because this is basically just your team. This isn't your playing style. To me, 40% of winning is your team. 40% of you is your 40% of winning is your skill, and 40% or 20% is the schedule. Like, I cannot stress this enough that skill is a very, very important part. It's not just your team. You can have one of the worst teams and still win the whole thing, okay? This is just teams, okay? I'm not judging you based off player. Let's just keep that in mind. So, yeah, let's just start off with the 16th ranked team, the San Jose Shed Ninjas. This team is I'll bring it up right here, which is awesome. Shed Ninjas. Okay, so their team is a little interesting. I hope you can see most of them, but it's Mega Alakazam, Comfy, Corviknight, Darmanitan, Donphan, Hawlucha, and DDD. Lantern, Poltergeist, Toxapex, Volbeat. This team is very interesting. Volbeat is really weird because Illumise is just the better Mon, because I'm pretty positive that Volbeat does not get Wish. It doesn't, which is something Illumise does, and it's what it's used for. Pretty sure it's Baton Pass too. Like, Volbeat is just very infuriating. I don't understand this pick. First round was a meme pick, but even then, I mean, I don't understand why this was picked. This team has good tanks. It has a 9 out of 10 in defensive tanks because, I mean, look at some of these tanks. You have Toxapex and Corviknight on the same team. Indeed, female has pretty good Spadaf. This has pretty good Spadaf. This is Assault Vest with the Volt switch. It's just insane. So yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10 for that. Like, this team did not do well with the offensive totals, with the totals in general. I mean, it did good in speed, but 2 out of 16s is definitely gonna land you in the bottom. I'm pretty sure this team was in the bottom the whole way through. One of the fun parts about doing this was seeing teams rise and fall. But yeah, San Jose, very, very interesting. Speed tiers though, relatively good. Yeah, I mean, not really clumped. The only reason it's 7 out of 10 and not 8 or 9 out of 10 is mainly because of these two. Because these two are really, really outpacing all of these, and I'm pretty sure their highest is 95 or 100, and then 95, and then it just sort of goes down. But there's kind of a gap between these two because Volbeat obviously is Prankster, and that's usually what Volbeat runs, so that's a thing. Another thing that I want to note is cores. Like I said, I'm a big person on cores, so most of the teams that are down here don't have the best core scores. That rhymes. Besides from a few teams, most of the teams are not doing the best in their core scores. And yeah, I mean, this team is missing a Grass Dark and Dragon type. I don't know. I mean, there's an obvious reason why it's ranked 72 and not, like in the 80s, and it's obviously because it's missing cores. And then the last stat is momentum. I mean, special physical is really self-explanatory. This team was, I believe, it was ranked 9th, maybe. It had 99, which is barely good. Like, acceptable, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very, very decent. And momentum 7 is actually one of the highest scores. I'm pretty sure the highest was 8. Yep. So this is second highest, which is, I mean, take it what it's worth. you are the bottom team, sort of the underdogs, and you got a few stats. You got a few things going for you. You got huge offensive threats, with just Lucha in general and Mega Alakazam, which I didn't even talk about. This mon is amazing. Gets expanding force. Nasty Plot was banned, and this mon is still tier 1, and it's probably still gonna do huge things in this league. Corviknight, very good defensive wall. I think Darm is good on any team. It just does its job and does it really well. Donphan can obviously spin away rocks. 11 out of 20 in hazards. I did not talk about that yet. So hazards were really weird. The highest score is actually 19. Nobody got a perfect score, which is kind of shocking. I thought maybe one team would get a 20 out of 20, but no team did. Only one team got a 19, and the second highest was 17. 11 was actually the second lowest. 10 was the lowest. So yeah, a little interesting. But I mean, this is the bottom team, so I was kind of expecting a little bit of weirdness, and definitely did deliver on that. So let's move on to the next team, which I'm really am shocked it's this low. This was one of my top teams in the pre things, and that is the Pulse Diances. So as you can see, this draft score got a 90, which is insane. Personally, this was one of my favorite teams. I did projected records alongside of this, and I didn't know if I want to share them or not. And this team was tied for first with 12 out of 3, or 12 and 3. As you can see, look at this team. I don't get why this team was ranked 15th. I couldn't really do anything about it. I mean, look at it. Really, the only reason this team is ranked 15th is because the 4s, the 3, the 5, and I mean, really, it's just these stats are the only reason this team is not any higher, and I really do think this team should be higher. I mean, Ditto is really good. All of these mons are really good. Like Galarian Corsola, I love Galarian Corsola to death. This mon just gets its hazards up and does its thing. If it gets knocked, it doesn't really matter because it's just gonna strength sap. Drapion gets up Toxic Spikes. Moltres, great pivot option. Now with heavy duty boots, so now it has more longevity and it has Roost. Ninetales gets up Veil. This is a rising voltage team, which is really cool, and I really like this team. Sceptile is also really cool. We got D-Dance now. This got stored power, I believe. Cosmic Power stored power, which is crazy. Tabu Koko, I think we all know what this thing can do. It's just the team is really good. It's a 90 out of 100. I thought for sure this team would be one of the top teams doing the system, and it for some reason just wasn't. I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, I don't know who the coaches of every team are. It's very weird. But coach of the Pulse Diances, please prove me wrong. I do not think you are a bottom 15 team. You definitely have a lot of potential, and I think this does not reflect who you are. But obviously, 10 out of 10 for offensive threats, 9 out of 10 for defensive threats, because Slowbro, Zygarde, Veil, Skarm, Corsola, Drapion, possibly Ditto, very good walls. Speed tiers, ooh boy, these speed tiers are very weird. It's clumped in the 90s, I believe it's 95 and 110 is what it's between, which might sound good, but it's 95, 110, 108, 95. So there's kind of a little gap where there probably shouldn't be. There probably should be like 100 there, or a 90, 100. And then Mattress is 90, and then it goes, I believe, 70, and then Ditto doesn't really count because it just transforms, but even then it's 48. So there's just kind of this big, just nothing here, and then 120, 130. So I think that's really wacky. I don't know. Maybe I could have given extra points, but I don't like not having any speed tiers in this section besides from like 2 Pokemon. Should have been a little bit spaced out more, but still, this I don't know. But let's move on to another team which kind of got snubbed. Like I said, I was keeping track of all of these teams while they were going. Pulse Diantes was in the bottom for like the whole thing, and I'm guessing it's because of the first 2 rounds. But this team was in the top for the first multiple rounds. I mean, as you can see, 7, 13, and 3 is not a half bad start. That's going to give you 23 to begin with, which is higher than the last 2 teams, and it was... I can't say anything, but, yeah, I mean, look at this, 6 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, so where did this team fall? It even got a 15 out of 20 in hazards, which is pretty average. It's a pretty average score. The 4 out of 16 really screwed this team up. The lack of, cores also screwed this up. I am not even showing you the team. I mean, the momentum was really, like, 6 is a really good score because the highest is 8 and the lowest is 3. So 6 is pretty, like, barely above average. Like, as you can see, this team is really good. It's very defensive, has a lot, like, you can see why 10 out of 10, right? Chansey, Celesteela, Quag, Stringy, Hippowdon, all good defensive tanks. You have to prep for Scizor and Weavile, and Blaziken, which now has U-turn. Like, it's insane. This team is insane. This is one of the only teams, or this is the only team to have a 10 out of 10. Fun. This is the only team to have a 10 out of 10 in, a, whatever it's called, in speed tiers. And these speed tiers are fantastic. I believe this is 110. It's somewhere in the 110s. Galvantula is 108. This is 92. It's so bad, I know these. I think this is either 80 or 90. This is 86, 61, 65, 60, 65, something like that. And then 50, 40, 30, or I believe it's one of these is 50 and then it's like 45, 40, 30. I think that's a really good speed tiers. I could be wrong, but speed tiers for the most part are really good for this team. The only reason this team isn't higher is because it's missing 2 cores. The grass core, the grass fire water core, which is one of the most important cores, and the less important core, which is electric ground and poison. I think that's a little underrated. It doesn't really have T-spike removals besides from whatever it's called, defogging. And if it does defog, it loses webs, it loses webs and rocks. So yeah, kind of not good for this team to not have a spinner or a T-spike removal option besides from defog. And this team is also missing ghost type, which I think ghost types are very underrated. They give you a normal and fighting immunity, as well as just being a really good type in general. But yeah, this team is missing some stuff, but it's still really good. 88 out of 100 for missing like core members is really good. So no sweat for my man. Yeah, prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Next team is actually one of the teams. No offense, I was kind of expecting this team to be in the bottom. Didn't really have the best. It did have a pretty good start, but I kind of figured it was gonna fall out because it was one of my teams in the bottom. And that's gonna be the Dallas Starmies. This team got an 83. As you can see, the ratings from this website don't really matter. They're just sort of a guesstimate. But 83. I should get the team up. Dallas Starmies. 3 out of 16 offense total is kind of a little shocking to me. If I could show the team so I actually know what I'm talking about, please. 14 out of 16 defensive total, I could definitely see that. Yeah, for this team. Okay, so this team is very interesting. You might be like, why is this team 7 out of 10 for offensive threats when it has 3 really good offensive attackers? Like, how is this team not a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 in offensive threats? And that just comes to one simple fact, is that most of these attackers on the team are physical. I didn't know if I should have like incorporated that into it, but like that's a very big flaw for your team. If most of your best attackers are physical, teams can easily just prep for all of them in one mon, be it like Porygon 2, which is an amazing wall, and it's, if you just IV it up for to take like superpowers and stuff, I mean, it can survive for a while. So I don't think it's really hard to prep for 3 very offensive, I mean 4 or 5 really offensive mons that really all do the same thing. This team doesn't really have many special attackers. Sure, it has a pivot in Rotom Mo. Sure, it has Latias, but it doesn't really have that notable special attacker besides Sylveon. Sylveon is kind of the special attacker, but with a 110, I don't know. But yeah, I can definitely see why it's 3 out of 16. Besides from these 3 and Scrafty and Sylveon, this team doesn't really have a offensive identity. This team is a lot more bulkier than I realized, because holy crap, the amount of tanks. Sylveon is a tank, Scrafty's a tank, Rotom Mo can be a tank, but it's usually a pivot. Registeel is obviously a huge tank, 150 in both stats. Miltank's a huge tank. Funny. Latias, a very underrated tank with 130 Spadef, 80 HP, 90 defense. And Alomomola. Obviously this thing just very annoying to deal with. So yeah. This team definitely has a more defensive identity than an offensive identity. Still, Toxic is very not good for this team, and Fire is also very not good for this team. So yeah, those are two things. Speed tier wise, yeah, I mean, any team, as soon as I saw clumps like these, I automatically put them in the lower speed tiers. As well as that, I mean, you have Mega Beedrill just poking out here. Like, I think it's 110. It goes to 110 or something around there, and then it just jumps to 140s. So yeah, that's not good. But other than that, I mean, most of it is okay, but still a little clumped, and maybe just a little bit slower would have been nice, and not having the lower tiers as clumped as they are, because obviously you need these. I'd rather have these tiers clumped than have the bottom tiers clumped, because if you have the bottom tiers clumped, it's not gonna work. Anyways, hazard removal, 13 on 20. I don't believe there's no rapid spin removal. There's 4 defoggers, so it's gonna get a penalty. 1 T-Spiker and 3 rockers is fine. I didn't give any penalties for rockers because I do think the more rockers the merrier, because it gives you more unpredictability. But for hazard control, I mean, I don't know. I'd rather only have 2 or 3 of those and focus on that than having just a ton of defoggers. That's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but yeah. This team also suffers from a special physical balance. This team has, I believe, like 300 or 200 difference. 250 differential, which is the second worst. That is not good. But yeah, it also has 5 out of 11 in momentum, which is pretty average. Like, that's like 6, like 5.5 would be probably average, so it's a little below average, but I mean, that's rounding, so yeah. I mean, definitely not a terrible team, but I feel like you could maybe split up the offense. I mean, of course, this can go on the special side, but I don't know. I don't know. Definitely missing out on fire and a ghost type could hurt, and Blacephalon got taken, so that's kind of and as well as a little Marowak. So yeah, let's move on with the next team, and this is actually a team. I don't know if I'm shocked, but I think this team was high early on. No, I think it was in the middle, and it just sort of sunk as the draft went. I think, or not draft, but as this sort of went on. But that is going to be the Toronto Tedpigs. So, as you can see, according to this, the worst offensive team, based off the offensive total of this team, which I believe was in the 800s or 700s. Toronto. Wait, what? Okay, whatever. Oh yeah, because it's both. Okay, so it's, yeah. So it has a 905 and an 818, which is decent, but I mean, this team definitely has a more defensive presence with pretty much 1100s in both defenses, and it definitely reflects in the total and with the threats the way they are. I don't know why I did that, actually. Why did I do that? Okay. So, yeah, as you can see, very defensive team. Scyther was actually their first pick, and I think that was a really good pick on their part. Coach of the Toronto Tedpigs, shout out to you, you're cool. But this team is missing, like I said, I'm a big core person, and this team is missing a Grass, Dragon, Electric, and Poison type. As you can see, a little Marowak's right there. Speed tiers are very, very odd. It goes decent, and then there's just a gap right here, and then it just continues like nothing happened, but it's only a gap of 25. 25 is still a lot, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. There's just being a random gap, so I definitely just took off 5 just for that. But the real reason this team got a 6 out of 10 on offensive threats, despite having Protein Greninja, even though it can't use choice items, Mega Gardevoir, and an Aegislash. That's what I consider the 3 threats to be. You really only could run special with those 3, so it's kind of predictable. Steel beats 2, or not Steel, I don't know. Ghost beats 2 of them, so that's kind of like a very big downside. That Ghost sort of beats the offensive threats, and it beats Alola Marowak and Slowbro. That's kind of a downside with this team, is that Ghost kind of just hits this team. The only mon that can just switch in easily is Umbreon, possibly Savali, and Audino. So, yeah, I mean, Ghost types are kind of easily spammable. I'm pretty sure this team probably is weak to Edgequake. I have no idea though. I didn't check into that. But yeah, 8 out of 16 in special, so that's literally right down the middle. 17 out of 20 is not bad for hazards, like I said. That's actually above average, so good job. So what you just don't have webs, yeah. Yeah, you even have a rapid spinner. So good job. I mean, chorus is obviously a big thing to me, and 8 out of 11 is actually the highest momentum score. So good job. So yeah, you definitely did pretty good with the drafting. I just say that maybe a little bit more offensive talent would have been nice, and maybe invest in different attackers. Not that I'm saying if you're comfortable with using these mons, I'd say don't change it then. But if you're not, it probably would be better for you to change into something more comfortable for you to use. That's just my opinion though. That's just my opinion, and having 3 special attackers could be a downside, and they're your 3 best attackers. So that's just my opinion, of course. But let's move on to the 11th ranked team. It's kind of going slow, but I want to really get into each team to the best of my ability. And yeah, so this team, I'm pretty sure is top heavy, is the top heavy team, which was being I was being told, oh, the draft thing, it just doesn't do this right and it doesn't account for everything. But okay. So sorry about that. I have no idea if I'm gonna edit this video. This video is gonna be very long, so but anyways, we have the Sacramento Samurats. I'm pretty sure this is the top heavy team with my favorite Pokemon in Draft League. So I definitely did not give it leeway. I'm kidding. I would never do that. But I'm pretty sure this is the team with Kartana, my favorite Draft League mon. I swear, if he mistreats him, if he does not become kill leader, yes, it is. Okay, so this team is very top heavy. It got a 78 on PDL, which is this website, which isn't bad, but I mean, we'll talk about the cores later because it's I don't know. This team is too top heavy, I think. Overall, before I actually get into like all the stuff, this team is too top heavy. I feel like you don't really have enough support, and if, let's say, your support does go down or one of your top mons do go down, this team kind of just scrambles. You have two steel types that just do the same thing on different sides of the specter, I guess. Inteleon is good, and Cinder is good, I think, but and Garchomp. I think Electrode is an underrated pick. It can get up light screen and stuff, which is cool. And this is, I believe, Defog. I don't know. Does this mon get rapid screen? I don't know. It wouldn't affect this, but maybe it does. I don't know. Mega Pinsir's cool. Doesn't get U-turn for some reason. That is strange, but Mega Pinsir's a cool pick for this team. Toxic Spikes is cool. That does stuff. But he has no poison type, so it is a hard life here. Like I said, I'm someone big on core, so I made that the most rated thing. It's -5 if you have an incomplete core, which is any of these cores listed here plus Ghost. So that's just a -10 straight away because he doesn't have a poison type either, as well as the Stark Fighting Psychic core. So yeah, I mean, without it, he'd be a playoff team for sure. But yeah, I mean, this team, I think it's solid. It has good offense. I think it does have average offense because top heavy plus not top heavy, very not top heavy equals average. That's just biology or something. I don't know. 7 out of 16 in defense, same reason. 15 out of 16 on speed. I do get why. And that's why speed tier is ranked 5 out of 10, because this is just atrocious speed tiers. Yeah, this is why this team is not going to do well, and why I agree that it is 11th and not one of the top teams, because speed tiers really do matter for tanks. If you don't have enough mons like between them, I can just send in like a faster fire type that's in between this tier range, and then just start picking apart all your defensive mons, and that just like like that's just not good. That is not good. You don't want that. So yeah, I think the speed tiers definitely do need some improvement, and you're not going to be outspeeding a lot with those bottom tier mons. And yeah, I mean, you just kind of misplayed with that. The special physical balance is actually the worst. No offense, I mean, it can't really be an offense, but yeah, this is nearly -400. The difference is on the special side it's 1845. On the physical side it's 2238. So that is amazing. That's amazing. And momentum 4 out of 11 is kind of bad in this, so yeah, there's definitely some improvements you can make to this team. maybe not make it as top heavy as it is, because it kind of loses a lot of value in between games and stuff. Remember, this is a 15-week season plus playoffs, so you definitely need at least some unpredictability and not just bring the same thing over and over and over again for 15 weeks. You need at least a team that can make playoffs, so that when you get to those playoffs, you can have unpredictability still left in the system. Yeah, that's just my thought process. So let's move on to the 10th ranked team, which is actually another very interesting team, because this team is very different at the end of the draft. I can't really recall it, but I know its score was I'm pretty sure a lot lower than this. It was in the 80s, and my man grinded. I'm impressed. So let's there we go. We have the Burning Rescue Rams. I will get the team up right now, but I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this team, I was like, this team is the worst. One of the worst teams I've ever seen in my life. There was like 3 water types. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking the right team. 3 water types, multiple mons sharing the same types, and it just, yeah. So, multiple water types. I'm pretty sure there was multiple, fire types, psychic types. I mean, there was just a little bit of everything, and that just does not work, I don't think, in my opinion. But yeah, this team has a pretty solid offense. I mean, obviously any team with Melmetal is going to be one of at least an average offense. And the fact that it has Lando T, it has an Intimidate core, which is cool. Gengar on the special side is cool. Altaria being both physical and special is cool. Araquanid with Mystical Water and all that fun stuff is cool. Tangrowth, special side. Very, very good walls, very good regenerative cores, very good cores in general. Get out of here. As you can see, 20 out of 25 in cores is nothing to laugh at. This team is only missing an electric type, and originally had Rotom Wash, and he traded it. I don't understand that. I still don't understand that. Why you would do that, but I'm pretty sure he traded it for, it might have been for Gengar, but, I mean, fair enough, but still, I mean, I would have rather traded any of these hundreds. Yeah, I don't know, strange, but still, even without that, Tangrowth is still a very solid mod. This whole team is very solid defensively, as you see, 12 out of 16, nothing to laugh at. But this team is really, really slow, and it doesn't really have Trick Room, I'm pretty sure. You can't baton pass stats, so double's kind of like, it doesn't really work out. But yeah, as you can see, this team is really, really slow. The highest being Gengar with 110. Yeah, like, that is really, really slow as your highest. Webs do help, but they aren't gonna save everything. So yeah, I mean, it definitely does help Melmetal a little bit, but still, I mean, you definitely need to improve that. Cores I'm really happy with, though. 20 out of 25 is really good. Like I said, only missing, I believe, an electric type. 5 out of 11 momentum isn't half bad. That is below average, but like I said before, rounding is cool. And speed tiers are, I mean, these aren't bad speed tiers. It's just, like I said before, if you were to clump anywhere, it would be in the higher speed tiers, not in the lower speed tiers, and that's exactly what he did, so that is not good. And sorry if I'm misgendering and all that. I just call everyone he, because I don't know, maybe it's hereditary or something, or just natural, human natural. But yeah, I mean, this team, it's actually not that bad for hazards. It gets its hazards up, and it can get rid of hazards with both of its flying types. This another team that's not really good with the special physical balance. I'm noticing that most teams that are in the lower tiers, like the first team that hits double digits for the physical special balance, is actually ranked in the playoffs. So yeah, pretty much if you had anywhere below 10 for your physical special balance split, you were pretty much not making playoffs, like, at all. So yeah, that's definitely something that maybe some of these newer players should take notice of, is that split, because if you are leaning way too much to one side, that makes it really easy for your opponent to prep to that side and only that side. Like, they could bring like 2 or 3 tanks on that side and only bring like 1 half SPDEF tank that can just eat your hits and then deal them back out. But yeah, that's pretty much Burning Reshiram. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about them other than good luck. Let's move on to the 9th ranked team. The DC Drapions. Oh boy. So this team has a 78. We have a lot of 70s and 80s this time. I believe we only had 4 or 5 90s. Yeah, I think 5 90s and like 7 or so 70s and like 3 or 4 80s. 4 80s. But yeah, this team is really damn good. I'm not trying to oversell this team at all. 20 out of 25 on that cores is really good still. Even if it doesn't have a dark type, it still is a ghost type. But Torn T, like these 4 are really good together. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't understand how this is so low, but I had to compensate for it with the 8 out of 10 offensive threats, because oh man, how are you gonna switch into this? How? Rotom is a really good pivot. You have really good defensive tanks. Like, the only thing this team struggles with is speed tiers, because there's another speed gap with most mons in here being in the 75s. But besides from that, I mean, this team is just really solid. It has 9 points in special physical balance, which right now is the highest we've seen yet. It won't be for long, but it's the highest we've seen, which is good. It has the highest hazard plus removal score out of everyone here with 19. Like, this team just killed it. 4 out of 11 in momentum is pretty bad, but I mean, it's momentum. This isn't a really big category. You don't need to hit all of it, so I can understand that, not hitting all of it. But yeah, I mean, the only thing holding this team back is its speed and speed tiers, because they are just not the best thing in the world. I really don't understand that offense, I guess. I mean, maybe things like Not Learn stuff, and Piloswine, Melodic, all those guys, but still, man, this team is gonna be a little threatening. I'm a little nervous for it, but, yeah. Let's move on with the playoff teams. I think it's top 8 make playoffs, but let's move on to these playoff teams. And holy crap, are these playoff teams so weird, because 3 of these teams I did not have in the playoffs at all. They were all bottom teams. Like, I don't understand how they made it this far. And we'll start with the first team, which is the Warsaw Wooloos. I'm pretty sure this team was second to last. And the crazy thing is, the whole time, it was practically like, it was top 5 to 6 the whole time through, and it fell off near the end. Like, near the middle. That's practically it. That's all that happened. Like, this team is just solid for some reason. I will bring it up. I don't know why I'm not doing that, but this team is just very solid all the way through. Oops. It will eventually get to it, but as you can see, very good offensive stats, very good defensive stats. Speed isn't the best, but it's definitely there. As you can see, it's here. Speed tiers are pretty solid. Not really too many complaints besides from 110 being your highest and this being clumped. But I can excuse this being clumped, because, I mean, if your lowest is going to be Mega Aldino, which is, I believe, 50, yeah, then I think it's fine if you have these all clumped. But still, you definitely need a higher speed tier than 110. Yeah, I mean, this team is really good offensively, and for some reason defensively, I guess every mon here is a little bulky. But here's the problem with this team, is that it's pretty much all offense. You don't really have a tank with this team, besides from like Mega Audino and Arctivish, which aren't the best tanks because fighting type moves are, I mean, nothing. I mean, ghost type moves are like immune to it, but I mean, everything hits it besides dragon and ghost type moves. So that doesn't really work as the tank. And Arctivish has ice as its typing, so it's weak to like everything. I mean, Togekiss is another tank, but I mean, still, like, there is no defensive tanks for this team, so I felt like I had no choice but to give it a 2 out of 10. But other than that, I mean, this team is really solid overall. Has decent speed tiers, has decent speed total. The worst hazard team, and if you want to know why, it's because of the hazard control, which is weird, because this team does need hazard control, but not this much. There are 7 mons that deal with hazards on this team, 6 of which are defoggers, or 5 of which are defoggers, and 2 of which are rapid spinners, which is too much. There's only 1 rocker with no spikes, no T-spikes, or or sticky webs. And it's weird because this team has Volcarona, Togekiss, and Arctivish, and Braviary, which are all weak to rocks. So you really only needed 3 or 4. I mean, 4 defoggers I would have been fine with for this team, but to have 5 defoggers and 2 rapid spinners is so much unnecessariness for this team. Granted, cores are good, but so many repeated types, and momentum's only 5. Yeah, it's easy to see why this team is not like a top 4 team, not like a top 5 team. It's just missing some things, and it has too much hazard control. And like I said before, hazard control might not be bad, but too much, I feel like if you focus on it too much, or if you get too much of it, to me it just falls through, because like most of these mons are not gonna run defog. Please tell me when Volcarona or Surfetched or Latios or even Braviary is gonna run defog on this team. Like I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, 94 out of 151 is definitely not a bad score. Like, even these 90 teams, most 90 teams are looking really good. Like, any team that scored in 90, I think, is a pretty good team. If you scored below 90, your team is good, but it's not revolutionary. If you scored below 80, I believe in you. But yeah, let's move on to the 7th ranked team. Again, another team. This was actually placed at the bottom, and the crazy thing about okay, thank God, about the London Ludicolo is that they're not only are they my week 1 matchup for some reason, but they just, oh man, they were sticking with I didn't say that. They were sticking with the #1 team along with another team. They were sticking with the #1 team the whole time, besides from the ending when it got to cores. As you can see, there's a pretty obvious reason why it didn't stick with them for cores. But highest offensive total is crazy for a team like the London Ludicolos, which I will bring up because their team is so weird. I like, my brain just can't wrap around it. This might just be me, but I don't really understand how this team is where it is. I don't think it is the 7th best team, no offense, but here it is. It does have trapping with Dugtrio. That's partly why it's 9 out of 10. It just has really good offensive threats. My voice is gonna die. It has pretty good offensive threats like Zeraora, like Kyurem, like Dugtrio, like Mega Diancie, like Cobalion, like Blacephalon, and partly Articuno. But this team really does suffer from not having too many defensive tanks. Like, Cobalion's a tank, Klefki's a tank, I mean, Kyurem can be a tank, and Pyukumuku is a really good tank, of course, unless it gets toxic, but, and Articuno is just forced to run heavy-duty boots, I feel like. So, yeah, I feel like defensive threats are definitely very low, or the defensive tanks are definitely not the best for this team, which is partly why it's not doing good. Klefki does provide screens, but I mean, are screens really needed for this team? You have Zeraora, you have Kyurem, you kind of have immediate offense already. You don't really need to set up anything besides like Shell Smash and I guess like Hone Claws Dugtrio or something, but I don't know, I just don't agree with that in my personal opinion. It seems I'm missing a lot of cores. Missing Grass, Dark, Psychic, Ghost, probably Poison. Yep, Poison. The speed tiers on this team are weird. Another 6 out of 10. It has Pyukumuku, and then a gap, and then Clawitzer, and then pretty much another gap until Articuno, because Klefki just prankster, so I don't really count that as like a speed tier, I guess. And then you have Clumpings from 91 to 100, and then you have 110 and higher, which is Zeraora, Minior, Dugtrio. But there's a 54 speed gap. Like, I don't know. Hazard removal is not the best for this team, only 13 out of 20, which is, I believe, third worst, second worst, something around there. 15 out of 16 is actually really good. That is the second highest. Yeah, not very high momentum. This is the lowest momentum out of every team in the league. Yeah, that is a London Ludicolo's. Like I said, I don't really think this team is, like, no offense to the owner of this team, but I really don't think your team is top 7. But according to this, it is. But just because your team is, like, you really do need to play hard every match, because it's kind of exploitable, kind of easily exploitable. You do have spikes, you do have hazard control, but no rapid spinner. Kind of unfortunate for spikes and rocks. But yeah, let's move on. So number 6, this team kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I think this team is the same where it was last time, but we have the Snowden Snowverse 83 on their whatever it's called on this website. Where is it? Snowden Snowverse. As you can see, this team did not start off the best. 5-6-2 is definitely not a way you want to start off, but it definitely did pick up along the road with its next lowest score being a 6. Like, very good. As you can see, here it is. It's a rain team. Rain teams usually do really well in Draft League, so I can imagine this team possibly being a top 4, top 5 team instead of 6th, but only time will tell. The weirdest mod on this team is probably Entei. I don't really know why Entei is on this team. Maybe I'm not well informed on rain teams, but I really don't think fire types are needed for rain teams. I think that's the general consensus on all that stuff, and I probably said that word wrong. But Entei, it gets high horsepower, it gets Flare Blitz, probably Iron Tail, maybe U-turn, extreme speed. So it's definitely usable. Dragon Pull has Thunder, so that's something to look out for. You get T-Spikes with this team. This team has really good hazards, 17 out of 20. It's the only reason it's not 20 out of 20 is because no rapid spin. So that's fair. Like, this is probably the best hazard team in my opinion. Even though we had a 19, this is probably one of the best ones we've had. 83, like I said, for PDL, not bad. Speed tiers are actually the best. Like, this is one of the best teams. Mainly because everything is just, like, this is practically where I'd put everything. I don't know if you can see it, but maybe I scroll down more. But as you can see, like 30, like I would definitely, I like putting 2 mons, 2 mons, 2 mons, like maybe 3, 2, 3, 2, like something like that. And this does do it. The only problem with this, the only reason this is not 10 out of 10 is because of Entei to Dragapult being 42 speed points away is too much, in my opinion. This team is missing ground and fighting, which I think are kind of necessary for a raid team. Possibly having a Voltador Mon and just having a really strong fighting type could be useful for this team instead of having like I don't know, like Orbeetle. But I mean, Orbeetle does provide webs, which is kind of nice for this team. This team does get webs now. Like, just a very solid rain team. It's just not as good as some of the later teams. It has good offense and good defense. Yeah, I mean that's about it with this team. And let's move on to the next team. So, again, this next team was not in the. This was a bottom 4 or 5 team before doing this, and again, this stayed as 2nd and 3rd consistently throughout the whole thing, and it fell literally at the cores. If it wasn't for cores, this team would probably be number 2 or number 1. Like, I don't understand it. The Scottish Superiors 5th, according to power rankings. Yeah, of course this is just teams, but I don't know. You're really gonna have to pull off a miracle with this team. But I mean, it's not like this team is bad per se, but it has as you can see, 10 out of 10 offense, 14 out of 16 offensive total, 11 out of 16 defensive total. Same thing as the Volcarona one. Decent speed, but I think you can already see why I don't like this team. There are so many physical attackers on this team, it's not even funny. I'm pretty sure the only non-physical attackers are like Meloetta, depending on the day, Infernape, Alcremie, Alakazam, and Charizard. Granted, that's 5, but still. Another big issue with this team is the tanks. The only tank on this team, like notable tank I would say, is probably Dusclops. If you had to name another, I'd probably say Alcremie and then Cloyster. But that's it. Those are your 3 tanks, and you can't win in Pokemon with only 3 tanks and 8 Mons. I know this team is number 5, so I should probably be saying good things about it, but this team kind of just doesn't sync well because you have a Droughtmon with Dracovish. So Fisher's Rend is obviously going to be powered down, but Infernape gets to go up. So I guess that's a trade that you're willing to take. This team is missing a lot of cores. You're missing Grass Dark and I believe Poison. Oh, you're just missing the whole Electric Ground Poison core. Ah, I see. So, yeah, cool. But as you see, I mean, this team has a lot of offensive threats, but if you can power through them or just outspeed them, like as long as you have something faster than Alakazam, which is 130, 120, even better, you should be fine. So yeah, I mean, defensively this team just doesn't do much. Hazards is pretty average, 14 is kind of average. So not bad there, and this team is the best. Like I said before, only one team had a, like, 1 differential between special physical. This was the team. So that is really cool. Pat on the back to you. Almost 100 out of 151. This would have been the first 100 team. Very close, but so far away. But anyways, good luck in the season. I really hope you can figure things out with this team, because to me it just does not mesh well with just things like drought for 2 water types on the team, or 3 water types on the team, 3 psychic types, 2 dragons. Like, double dragons can work, but you didn't really surround the team with that. Magic Guard Alakazam could work with a sash and just have it as a revenge killer, but yeah, I mean, there's just not, the pieces just don't, like, I don't know if I said this about a team already, but there was a team that had a lot of good pieces, but the pieces just don't fit together. It's like a puzzle. So I feel that with this team too, and I really hope they can manage this team together, because it looks really good on paper. The next team we have had the best draft rating out of any team, which is cool, I guess. In the beginning, I actually didn't. I'll just show the team. It's me. So, if you were wondering where I was gonna be on this list, on my own list, here's your answer. I'm 4th. I'm actually tied. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually tied for 4th. So technically 3rd, but I will give it up. I don't really care. I'd rather be in the lower spot anyways. Yeah, I guess we can go over to my team. I'm assuming, did the video stop? Oh my god. Okay. Wow. So let's just open up a new lo-fi mix. Anyways, I will bring up my team right now. So my team: Boss Stomps, Esketit. As you can see in the beginning, it did really bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. In the beginning, it was not even in playoffs. It barely got into playoffs right here, and then it just sort of rode it out for the rest. So that's good. So here's my team. So 10 out of 16 offense, pretty good. I was not expecting a good start like that for offense. I'll definitely take it. Defense, come on, 3 out of 16. So we kind of just fell there, and then so we were literally middle for speed, which I agree with. I think I have some good speed tiers. Yeah, I mean, this is just basic speed tiers, I think, for me. So I just gave myself an 8 out of 10. I tried to be as fair as possible. I think this team is threatening offensively. I'm trying to not be biased, okay? Please don't rip me for trying to be biased. I'm not trying to be biased at all. This team does have offensive threats. And why do you have to do that? This team does have offensive threats. Zapdos can be offensive. It's a very bulky offensive mon. With Discharge, and now it gets Hurricane and Air Slash. It can Roost, it can Sub, it can Toxic, it can Heat Wave. It does a lot of things. It can U-turn, Volt Switch. Fun mon. I've never used it though. Sharpedo, Physical Attacker. It can get in there, Speed Boost, Choice Banded. Very cool mon, very hard hitting. Superior, Contrary. I don't think I need to say anything else. Salazzle. We both know it's 2 sets, Subtoxic and Specs or Scarf. I believe this is the highest fed mon on my team. It's 120, 117. I believe that is the highest, not counting Speed Booster. Yeah, it is my highest. Porygon 2, like I was alluding to, one of the best tanks, in my personal opinion, the best tank in Pokemon, because Eviolite with this stats, plus it's huge HP and it has Recover. Just insane, and it gets pretty good access to moves. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Berserker, very underrated offensive Steel type. With 110 attack and 100 defense, you can AV it. Very cool. Palossand, Ghost Water, special tank. So it kind of fits the defensive narrative. It got Scorching Sands now. Como, Body Press. It can run offensive sub. It can run defensive. It's just Como. Gardevoir, Wish, Protect, Scarf sets, Trace, etc. And Mega Gallade, in my opinion, the best Mega in the game. for draft league at least. Just hits everything hard. That's what she said, but yeah, I mean, it just does its job. It does it too well. Low punny is obviously second place, but this is very, very good mega. And then Fortress, which just rounds out the team, gives me spikes, gives me more momentum with Volt Switch. It gives me a rapid spin, just very good, and it fits more defensive. So I think 7 out of 10 is fair for this team for defensive. It doesn't really have too many threats, but mons like Fortress and Como and Palisand and Porygon 2 and Zapdos, if you had to pick 3, then probably Zapdos, Porygon 2, and Fortress are really good tanks for this team. They just really do their job, and they get recovery moves. So yeah, I mean, they're just solid. 8 out of 10 speed tiers. I like my speed tiers. I made them. 17 out of 20 for hazards. I had one of the best hazards teams, which wasn't something I wasn't really trying to do, but cool. I didn't have the best special physicals balance. I think I was like 99, minus 99, which is barely I guess acceptable to me, but yeah, I mean, still pretty good. And then here's where I really shined. I was the first team to have the full 25s and get every core done. Like I said, I love getting my cores done, and I feel like you're missing out. If you're not getting your cores done, you're just missing something. I mean, they're just really good for providing offense and natural bulk that you wouldn't really necessarily have to find later in the draft. I mean, obviously I picked things up like Porygon 2, but you get my point. And momentum, I mean, again, I wasn't really looking after momentum. I mean, I wanted things like flip turn and volt switching and U-turn, but I wasn't really expecting to get 7 of those on one team. Like, usually a fair amount is like 4 or 5, but yeah. I don't really want to talk about my team too much. I feel like I've already talked about it way too much, but let's move on to the tie with me, with, I feel like, one of the best teams in this league. I mean, obviously it's going to be ranked number 3. I think these next 3 teams, I think they're all really good. I really do. And next we have Seattle Sylveons. So Seattle Sylveons, believe it. Here, yeah, I mean, this team is really good offensively, and it has good speed, it has offensive threats, decent speed tiers, really good special physical balance, as you can see. It's so unfortunate that this team did not get Baton Pass. If this team has Baton Pass, I initially ranked it as the best team with Baton Pass. It's insane. It is insane. Being able to speed boost into Finny, or speed boost into that Mega Ampharos would have been insane, to say the least. Ambipom is really cool. I'm pretty sure it gets Baton Pass too. It's U-turn, Fake Out, etc. Technician. Yeah. I mean, very threatening offensively with Scolipede and Specs Finny and Sheer Force King and Tough Claws, Dusk Boy, and Flincharachi, and Spexler, and just everyone. I mean, this team is very offensively threatening, but doesn't really have like notable standouts besides like Scolipede and Rachi, I guess. I mean, Mega Ampharos does of course have like a 165 base special attack, but it's really slow and you can knock it out. So it's really like sort of a charge up tank, I guess. It seemed does decent in hazards. Again, another 25-25 for core, which is nice. I'm pretty sure this team was in the top for a while, and it just went even further with the cores. So good for them. 4-11 momentum is okay for the most part, but still nothing really, I guess, major would be the right word. As you can see, for speed tiers, I don't think they're that bad. Maybe this is just too clumped though for me. And yeah, I mean, this team is just very solid. Physical balance, one of the best in the league. I think this team is gonna do some great things. I do. I really do think this team is gonna do some great things in this league. And let's move on to the number 2 team. As soon as you get this team, you already know who the number 1 is gonna be if you're in this league. We have the Vancouver Wishcashes. Yeah. So I will get their team up, of course. Their PDL score is 86. Very good offensive total. But not the best defense or speed total. I guess passable, but still not what you're really looking for. As you can see here, it is. This team has threats. I stand by the 9 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 for defensive. Gastrodon, Claydol even, Dragalge, Heatran, and Whimsicott are all really good defensive tanks that can just come in and just start messing you up. And even on the offensive side, I mean, you have Toxicity and Mimikyu and Hyperspace Fury guy and Heatran again, and Bisharp and Mega Aerodactyl with Dragon Dance. Like, this team is gonna mess you up. It could possibly be 10 out of 10. It wouldn't change it. This team would still be second, but I mean, this team is just amazing. I think it has so much offensive power. Again, 20 out of 25, 25 out of 25 on those cores. This team has so much offensive power, so much capabilities. It can just blow you out of the water. Speed tier 6 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, clump speed tiers in the bottom and in the middle, which are probably, in my opinion, the 2 worst places you want to clump them. I'd rather clump them in this category. So that's just me though. Yeah, I mean, this team is just offensively gifted. Very good special physical balance, which is very important for these top teams. Like I said, only a few teams don't have the best special physical balance. It's just me. It's literally just me. So, yeah, most of the teams are top 5 are all above 12 besides me. So, yeah, like, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. And yeah, so this team really good offensively. Defensively, I think it's still good, but it's definitely not as good as it is offensively. Tailwind support is really good for this mod. Being able to absorb toxic spikes with 2 mods and being able to set it up. Yeah, like this has a lot of stuff going for it. And the last team, obviously, if you're in the league, you probably know who this is. But we have LA King Bastions with huge 115 out of 151. Let me just say something. Before I even talk about his team, I'll get it up right now, but before I even talk about his team, I need to talk to you about the whole entire thing of me going through the PRs and simulating all of it. This team was the number 1 team throughout the whole thing. Not counting the first round because it got a 15 out of 16. This led the whole thing. Like, it never once got caught up, which is just insane. I was definitely not expecting this team to lead the whole way dominantly. Nothing literally passed it. It just amazing team. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was this dominantly good. Its lowest stat is 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 11, but it's 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 16. That's insane. This team just does everything pretty well. It doesn't even have the full cores. It doesn't have, I believe, Ghost, which is the best type to not have for all these cores. So yeah, I mean, this team is just insane. 15 out of 16 offense, 10 out of 10 offensive threats for good reasons. I mean, Arcanine, Azelf, Empoleon, Florges, Crocodile, Mega Lopunny is the probably second best offensive mon in the game, with at least on the physical side, maybe third best behind Kartana, Noivern, and Thundurus, and even Suicune can do some things. And defensive wise, this team isn't even bad. I mean, Thundurus is a really good pivot, being able to just hit off some prankster defogs and prankster thunder waves. I'm losing my voice. I don't know if you can tell, but I need a drink of water or something. Suicune, really good defensive tank. I think we all know this mon can just rest, sleep, talk, calm mind, scald, and it just wins. Like, it's insane. Shaman, another very underrated mon. It just can do things with Seed Flare, and just be fun. Like, I think Shaman's very underrated for tier 3. I believe this is tier 3. Noivern, very good especially. This team doesn't really need to rely on it being sort of a tracer type of mon and just scouting. And it can be a more aggressive mon with Infiltrator. Mega Lopunny, fake out Ice Punch, high jump kick, return every week. Like, this thing just does its thing. Crocodile sets up rocks, you can scarf it, really good lead option. Florges, same thing, except not with the rocks or the scarf part, just really good tank. Empoleon, another really good tank. It's rocks, defog. It has 2 good abilities that I could use, Torrent and Defiant, which if it wants to switch into another defog and just get a boost and then potentially sweep unexpectedly, is a thing. Azelf, really good offensively. I believe it's 130, 125 splits, or 125, 115 splits. Aridos sets up webs, which is something very underrated about this team, is that webs can be set up, especially considering the fact it has huge mons that can take advantage of them with really good speed tiers, in my opinion, even though they are kind of high, and this is like 192, and I don't know what you are, like 90 maybe, 95 or something, and then like kind of a big gap between them. I think that's fine for this team because it has webs. Unlike the previous teams that really had a lot of lower mons that took advantage, these have a lot of higher mons that could take advantage, so I can forgive these clumps, because they would make sense for those speed tiers. High speed, highest offense. I don't really think I need to say too much about that. I think just from me saying it, you get the idea of this team. It just comes in, beats you in the ass. Just quick. 13 out of 16 special physical balance. Really good. Like I said before, doesn't even have a full cores and doesn't even have the best momentum, but still a damn good team. 111 points. This is by far the #1 team. In my opinion, I think this team is the #1 team. If I were to like place a winner right now, it'd probably be this team because it's just very hard to prep for. It's gonna be very hard to prep for. But these are my power rankings. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really tired. But like I said before, this is all my opinion. Please don't get mad at me. I'm just theorying. I'm not the best with with power rankings. I think I'm pretty bad at them, so I usually don't do them, but yeah, maybe you like them. That'd be really cool, I guess. And yeah, I'll see you guys week 1. And yeah, let's just hope for a dub. Let's just go out there and let's do our thing. And we'll be versing Ludicolo's, which are like somewhere up here, right here. So yeah, that's gonna be cool. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. On out.